Welcome to the Product Leaders Edge podcast. Welcome back to the Product Leaders Edge podcast. I'm your host, KJ Green. I am a product leader, entrepreneur, and lover of all things technology. And today I have a very special guest, one of my great friends from undergrad. We go way back, as far back as 2014, 2015. We went on a study abroad together to Costa Rica for a month in 2015, and we graduated from the great university, Johnson & Wales University in Providence, Rhode Island in 2016. So it's about 10 years since we've graduated. I would love to welcome Tabetha Taylor-Cintorino to the stage. And today we are diving into the world of travel. And as I've said to you all before, product leadership shows up across all domains, not just tech. And we want to continue to drive that thesis forward. And in this episode, we will discuss Tabetha's company, Travel with Tab, and how it was built and what it takes to run a service-based business where people trust you with their most important moments. So Tabetha would love to welcome you to the stage. Please introduce yourself to the audience.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Karan. You said my name well. I'm Tabetha Taylor-Cintorino, proud founder of Travel with Tab, established in 2023. So we're going on year 3, and it's really exciting.
Yeah, that's so awesome. I loved how you stepped out in faith and started your own business. And, I would love if you could tell me, like, who was Tabetha before Travel with Tab?
So I was a young girl with a dream. It really starts there. I really wanted to travel the world and see different things and meet different people, but I didn't have the money to do it. So I knew if I
Okay.
studied hard and I did really well, I could go away to school, just like how we met. So that's where my passion started, and it lasted years. And to be able to have the opportunity to go to school, I said, I don't want to waste this. I want to make sure I do everything with it. It's been 10 years now. I've worked for top global companies such as Flight Center and Collect Travel, doing corporate leisure and different items for those companies. So it's been about 10 years, and a couple years ago I decided I wanted to do it for myself. I'd learned so much and I wanted to give back with all that knowledge that I have and be able to share it with others in a different way.
Awesome. Awesome. And what would you say, what experiences shape how you approach like travel and like event planning? How, like, what made you like passionate in that space?
The experiences themselves, post graduation, I had a great opportunity to travel around the world. A big part, I spent a lot of time in Europe. And one of the things I really enjoyed was staying in a small village in Germany for a couple weeks. And I helped out travelers get to the play, see around town, logistic things. And it was a great experience. Things like that, being immersive in the destination, getting to know the people that live there, and to see more than just what's in the tourist destinations, what actual life is like in these places. And that really inspired me to want to share that with others, because there's only so much time that we have to travel. We really can't always see all of the world. Some people can. They're really lucky. But I think it's important for people to be educated on what's out there so they can have those experiences for themselves.
It makes sense. And why do you think it's important for tourists to see destinations outside of like the touristy areas of a destination?
It will change who you are in a good way. I feel myself that seeing places outside of the norm, outside of what we expect to see, it makes us think differently. And maybe we have a conversation we weren't expecting, or we tried something new that we weren't planning on. And it really just helps wire the brain to think a different way. And we take that home with us. And that's a really special gift.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I can totally agree with that. I mean, the experiences that we had in Costa Rica were off the beaten path. Like we did a lot of experiences that were just like different. So when with building your business, Travel with Tab, when did you realize that people just needed more help than just like booking the physical aspect of booking a trip? but more so the intangible of peace of mind. When did that come to fruition for you?
It came out at a time with COVID and a lot of emergency travel. I worked a lot in the background, and what that made me realize, maybe someone lost their passport and they're at the airport and they need assistance with that. Or there was a time where I rerouted an entire group tour because the weather just was not good to get to the island that they were supposed to travel to. I'm now managing, the service, the expectations of these guests. They paid for a service, they want to receive that service. So, still being able to manage those expectations, maybe even exceed that, those were really inspiring moments for me. And something that could be so ugly, especially with travel being very difficult during COVID and what came out of that, I was very happy to help individuals and taking that into everyday life. Small things can happen, such as losing a passport. And I like to be a breath of fresh air, let's say, to travelers. That's not something that just a booking engine could do for them.
Agreed. And you talked a lot about travel during COVID and just that era. How has travel changed since the
Uh, it's changed. It's changed for good, and I think it's changed for bad. We do see an increase now in more fees, such as the Trevi Fountain in Rome. Just about the other day, they're now charging a tourist fee, and it's because there was a big boom in travel. We all had cabin fever about 2021, late 21, 22. Everyone was traveling. That's when I was actually in Germany in 2022, and to see how active and eager people were to get out, it just made me realize that there was that need for that.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. And because we're on the topic of travel, I would love to hear your top travel destination. Like, what's your favorite place to visit? That's the first part of the question. And then second question is, what's been your favorite destination to lead a tour group to?
I It's gonna sound typical. I really love Italy. I mean, that's me. I love Europe in general, but there's just a lot of
Mhm.
passion there. I have a lot of a liking for the food culture, and my family has some roots there. So Italy is a place that I love to go back to, and it's great for a reason. It always stays a top destination. And there's a lot to see. It's really a large country. It has everything, mountains, beach. So there's so much there. I really love Italy. My favorite destination, I love it. It was actually the first place I went to was Ecuador. It was one of the most beautiful places that I've ever laid my eyes on, to be up in the clouds and, to stay on a volcano, and the sense of community that they have there. I absolutely loved Ecuador, and that's a place that lives rent free in my mind for sure.
Wow, wow. Do you take frequent trips to Ecuador these
No,
days?
I mean, I wish it'd be great. The real truth of being a expert like myself is I actually send travelers out more than I go myself. I have some trips planned, but I don't
Yeah.
get to travel as often now as I used to.
And how was that transition for you, being the one who was on the ground, leading the trips to now like curating from the background?
Well, I maybe just did a small amount of leading trips. A lot of what I
Mhm.
did in 2 different roles was, either on the planning side, planning the events and executing that, and then I got to a point where I was actually training tour guides myself. So, in the sense that I trained the tour guides, I would step in and take part in their role sometimes, maybe write standard operating procedures and things. But, like I said, I just did a lot and it was fun, but, I actually wanted to step away from it because it gets to be a lot, and I love it, and I wanna share that with others. It's such a great gift to be able to travel, but the truth is, it is a very nomadic life if one chooses to do that, full time. So, to find that balance has been beautiful. It's now a combination of some domestic travel, a little bit of international, and I'm not alone. I traveled alone a lot, and it gets to a point where you wanna travel with family and friends. It's a lot more enjoyable. But all around, it's just a matter of picking and choosing the right destinations. Like, Philly is actually, about to start having cruises sail out of there, and I'm
Oh,
super
wow.
excited that being nearby. So, of course, I scheduled a ship inspection, and I'll be checking out the new ship that they have coming up in April. That's really exciting for me, even though I might not be traveling all the time, but to get to now share that experience with everyone in the area, that's really special.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. And what are some elements that you build into just like your travel experiences that make it, your travel experiences for travelers that make it personable, make it, where people leave 5-star reviews. Like how do you wow travelers on any like trip or experience?
I think you'll love this. I utilize AI, but I also offer a super personal experience. So I utilize AI in the sense where if someone's staying at a hotel that has an application and things can be set up in advance, I educate them. I take care of whatever is requested. There's that elevated part of the experience. But then there's this really personal part of the experience where I'm creating their own portal, putting their documents in there. They don't have to worry. If they need a reservation, no problem. I'll get the information. Just because we booked the hotel and the flight and whatever elements they're requesting, it doesn't mean that I'm not still there to I'm not departing. I'm there to guide them through the process. And that's really the most
Yeah.
important part, especially with visas and even just knowing how to pack sometimes. It can be a lot traveling and planning your own trip. So I really alleviate all of that for somebody by guiding them through the process, and each individual has their own needs. And it's really cool. I really like to just be able to offer my services where it exists because some people love the plan. Some people love it, but they're so deep in it. They just want a second pair of eyes on it. And I might not even give any suggestions. I'm just there to go through, book it, and walk them through the process. I'm like a travel therapist, or I give all the suggestions, and they're fabulous. It's really tailored to each person, and that's what's special. That's not something that an AI machine can do, but an AI machine can gather thoughts, put together itineraries. It can take that information that I have that's so vast and make it beautiful. So I love that relationship, honestly.
Yeah, I love that too. And I loved how you mentioned AI and how it is used as a tool to reduce just like a lot of like back end work and to take down just, the unnecessary work that would have taken us a longer time. But thinking back a bit, and and the role that AI is playing in travel. When we went to school, AI and travel, those weren't in the same sentence. Like we went to school when the only AI you would kind of see is a GPS. And at that point, it wasn't that great. So, how do you see AI and other technology continuing to play a role in this industry?
Well, it is helping with speed. There are
Yeah.
processes that for the companies, the larger brands, hotel brands that where they want to adapt and be willing to move forward, it's really making for a fabulous client experience. And even for myself, just having that accessibility, that's great. But along with that accessibility is a vast amount of information that can almost be overwhelming. So me being there to walk an individual through that and kind of go through the process, that's really what I like to do. Almost like when you get a new phone, you have to set it up, you have to know how to use it. A lot of items on a trip can be that way. A lot of vendors may require an app to do an activity. There's things like that, and I love it. And I'm there to help move it forward. So I love the brands that invest in technology, and then I invest in them because all around it just makes for a really great experience.
That's awesome. That's so awesome. And you mentioned being in business for 3 years at this point. You started in 2023. So what did starting travel with Tab actually look like in the beginning?
In the beginning, it was like a lot of businesses, I had a lot of business plans. I spent a lot of time marketing. That's really like
Yeah.
any business, but the way I did that was in-person marketing. Really important to join the local business chamber because being a business owner, especially primarily solo, while I do have support team, a lot I do execute myself, it's good to get out and connect with others. And it is very grounding. So the local chamber is great just for the networking, but for that piece of it as well. And getting out, going to conferences, and then marketing online. That is a lot in the beginning, and then always going back to the drawing board. I had papers on top of papers, and always, a realigning because a big part of it is there's always a realignment. It's never stale. Even today, what I'm thinking about today is not the same way I should necessarily operate tomorrow. There's always a tweak, and it actually really ties into technology. It's keeping up with the way that we actually are as a society. How are people traveling now? It's much different than how they traveled before, and it really goes alongside technology.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. I guess like what would you say was one of the most challenging aspects of starting your own business?
For me, it might sound kind of silly, but I actually, when I was doing my marketing and posting online, and I made a really great local connection, and I had a lot of support from my community. But what I didn't realize until someone actually had said to me a few months in, you just booked the Jersey Shore, right? And I said, no, I mean, of course I'll tell anyone about the Jersey Shore, but I book Europe, I book Costa Rica, United States, I book all over. And I wondered why they said that to me. And I looked at my Instagram profile, which I believe really serves like a Google profile almost. People look at it and they say, that's what that business is about or that person's about. And I just looked like all I was wanting to talk about was the Jersey Shore. And I didn't even mean for that. And to me, I thought, wow, what the heck, you know? And I had to go in and change the way I shared my product information to present the product correctly. And I think that happens with a lot of business. My product alignment was not visually correct. And it was because I was frustrated with myself, but I had to then realign and there it is. It's good. Check it out. I really actually love the way my social shares and educates with the community now, but it just wasn't right. And that I found to be really difficult actually in the beginning was getting my online presence correct.
I'm so glad that you brought that up because I think a lot of people discredit that. Like people like new business owners, content creators always just kind of think, hey, I could just post, but there has to be a strategy behind of that. And I love that you took the market feedback in real time and made changes. You know, folks were thinking you were just a Jersey Shore travel agent, but no, you actually book worldwide. So I'm glad that you made those necessary adjustments. And how did you do that? How did you tweak, Jersey content, if you will, to more like global content?
A part was I do have to give credit. I was a marketing manager for a local company for about 2 years, so it did give me that hat. When I put that hat on, I just readjusted how I wore the hat.
Mhm.
I just I really just wanted to see what do people want to see. I don't want to bore anybody, and I don't want anyone to feel they have to always be on social to see what's going on with travel with Tab. It just really came down to who I was and what I wanted them to know, and back to the basics. You know, where have I traveled to? What do I want people to know? What's going to make their life easier? Are there any new updates coming out? And I never want it to be overwhelming, but just enough to know that I'm there. So that's the approach that I like to take. It's not, this over mass post. It's more a thoughtful method that I use.
That makes sense. That makes sense. And what's your biggest like social media engine? Is it Instagram is where you get most of your like inquiries directly from?
It's interesting. What I've noticed is a lot of people tend to just use one platform, so it comes from different platforms. It is quite frustrating. I have LinkedIn, I have Instagram, Facebook, and Substack, and everyone communicates on all four. There is no specific demographic or maybe something that's driving that. It's whichever one we felt comfortable to, I believe. And that's where I'm seeing the traffic come from, equally from all four, which I find to be really interesting as well. And to mention Substack too, something that we both use, I find it that's in the past year boomed. A ton of people are using it and getting a lot more organic traffic from people that I don't know on Substack versus Instagram and Facebook's more people that I know. And LinkedIn is always just I haven't figured that one out yet, honestly.
Yeah, yeah. The LinkedIn algorithm like changes every month it seems. Yeah, that that, that makes sense. And I love Substack too. I think Substack, this isn't an ad. Telling that to the audience, but I love Substack. I think it's one of those platforms that's still organic that hasn't been, I don't know, taken over by a crazy algorithm. So you are trusted with milestone moments, honeymoons, retreats, events. How did you earn that trust from travelers, from folks looking to book events? That's a lot of weight to carry.
It is. Sometimes I'm like, wow, I signed myself up for it though. No, I love it. It's really, it is. It's a lot of weight, especially honeymoons. I love honeymoons. I really do. It's fantastic. Baby moons, even. I mean, they're all these really great milestone trips, and they all mean so much to that person. I earned that. I mean, my experience, of course, I've traveled to 13 countries. I say it just so gracefully because I'm so grateful. I never thought I could say that in my lifetime, and I'm proud. But all of that experience, immersing myself in 13 countries, and then having on the ground experience too. Not too long ago, I worked with an ex NFL player and also a past survivor television show winner, and that was through an event channel, and it was really cool. All of these things I thought, wow, I never little me would have never thought I would do that. So I've earned it because That's pretty dang cool, you know?
Hey, no, that's cool. That's cool. That is so cool. I really do miss the travel and hospitality industry just for the simple fact of the people that you meet. You meet people from all over the world, famous people, people on reality TV. It's a good space to be in. So this is a two-part question. So what does a successful client experience look like to you? And how do you handle situations where, things may not go as planned?
Well, part of a great experience, it's each to their own. A bit of what I mentioned earlier, it's really personal. It's however much they want me to be part of it or how little they want me to be part of it. Of course, I'm
Mm,
always going to be there. I'm going to follow a certain standard procedure because that means that they're getting delivered a really great standard each time. I start off with a discovery call. We talk about visa travel information such as entry and exit depending on destination, passport information because that does vary per each country. And once we really get all of that out of the way, I craft itineraries, we talk about trip protection, and then before the person leaves, I'll check in. Of course, while they're traveling, I love to check in just to make sure the hotels are great and everything is going as planned. And then they made it home safely and just to see that everything's good. I think it's just that checkpoint that I like to offer, and all in between, the success is defined by, I think, how much or little they would like to utilize the service. I really love to offer information about the destination, about what they can access, what might be worth it or what not might be worth it. And it's always in their interest. I never book based on how much I might make on a trip. I just want someone to have a great trip. I'm very upfront about all of that. I'm very upfront about what I provide and how the suppliers pay me. I'm not there to essentially make an extra buck. I feel a lot better just knowing that someone had a really great trip, even if it means that I'm essentially not making too much from it. Because at the end of the day, of course, we like to be successful as a business, but to give back to society, to give back to families, to give back to couples, for their honeymoons, that's an experience they have one time. So I never measure my success off of what my profit will be. I measure it off of essentially how happy they are and not how perfect the trip went, because travel is travel. It's never going to go perfectly as planned. To go into the next part, when travel isn't perfect as planned, which actually happens a lot. One, I love trip protection because when there are things that you or I or the universe can't prevent, we go to the travel insurance company and we speak with them about those items if the trip is delayed, or there's all kinds of things that can happen. I think that's really important to have that because things don't always go as planned. And where I come in is with options. Like I mentioned earlier, if someone's in a destination and maybe the weather it's just not going as planned. We unfortunately Jamaica, there was really bad weather that came through there. Some people couldn't leave. Now what's the plan? I'm going to make sure that they're somewhere they're safe, they're sound, the embassy knows they're there. It all really depends on how extreme the options need to be weighed out. But I'm really just there to make sure that people have a great trip. They feel confident, they feel connected, and they're cared for. That's really all it is.
I love that. I love that. The basics. Back to the basics.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So you are recognized as a number one event planner. And would you like to talk more about that award and what that means to you? And if you can give the audience like the name of that award recognition, that'd be helpful as well.
Yeah, well, you see it right there. Have my medal.
Yeah.
Really proud. Hanging up. Yeah, so 2025, I was crowned number one event planner, best of Jersey Shore. That is for Cape May County, New Jersey. And I was really just so honored. I couldn't believe it. We see over 12 million visitors here. That's a lot of people. 12
That's a
million
lot of
because I
people.
live in a resort area. So with all of the wonderful businesses we have here, all of the wonderful event planners, I really actually couldn't believe it that I won, and I'm so honored. I mean, the group that does it, it's a radio station. They're local. They have a lot of credibility. They do a lot for the community, and they host this really great competition just to be able to showcase it. There's a magazine that's printed. And it's all done on the behalf of this organization. So it's really great. I've honored out of all the people that voted for me. Thank you. And voting's coming up again soon. So, it's really nice too. I love that the people wanted it. It wasn't something that I did. It was people voted for me. And that's what really really matters.
Yeah, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. Congrats on
Thanks.
that. And yeah, we are wishing you to hit number one again for 2026. So awesome. Awesome. I guess, what did you learn about yourself as a founder through this journey of building Travel with Tab? I think like entrepreneurship reveals just a different level of skills, but also grit than like being an employee. So would love to hear how that has shaped for you.
I always said I was really good at time management, and like maybe I was lying before I had a business because now that I have a business, time management's so important. And I don't mean for getting work done. Like I mean for sanity. Time management is to know when it's time to stop and when it's time to go, when it's time to take a break, when it's time to go back to the drawing board. Like that actually happened to me once. I was going to hold an event and just it just didn't make sense for me to hold it. And even though I announced it and started to promote it, I had to say, no, I need to be resilient. I need to push forward. Well, I don't want to cancel this. It's just not what makes sense for right now. So it's a lot of time management because that would have been a loss of my time. So instead I move forward. Yeah, that has to be it. I really am great at it now.
Yeah, it's just like holding boundaries. And, at points we do have to say no. And it is what it is. People will be okay. What advice would you give to someone starting a business, particularly for you, like starting a service-based business, especially like when we think about the folks that are coming out of university now, out of our university? What advice would you give to them?
I said a little bit about it earlier, just to touch on again. Definitely join your local chamber. There's a lot of people there that are willing to share advice from their own businesses, and it's really insightful and it's all free. Once you join, knowledge is power. So getting with those individuals and learning something I still believe in and I still will continue to do with my business and make sure there's time for that. The next thing is probably quarterly business reviews. I know that sounds so silly, but to check in with yourself quarterly to see where you're at and where things should be going is so important. Even when times might not seem so profitable or so busy, it is very important to take a quick check in with yourself. And then the last thing, I got some advice from a friend, and just the thing I really take with me a lot, really simple, but good things take time. She said that to me, and I thought, wow, okay. But it's the truth. Good things take time, especially with a service. It takes time for people to recognize the work that some individuals may be putting in, and that's okay because good things take time.
Good things take time. That should be like plaster somewhere. Good things take time, people. Don't rush life. What does success look like for Travel with Tab over the next few years?
I actually think I'd like to publish a book while I
Okay,
continue to, operate and work with different travelers. I really would like to publish a book. I'm not sure exactly what it will be, but it's a long there's more longevity. A book lasts a while, So to leave that kind of a legacy, but I want it to be really good. So when I have more information, I'll let you know. I'll come back.
for sure, for sure. We'll have you back. For sure, for sure. Okay. What do you want people to feel when they hear Travel with Tab? What do you want people to feel in their heart of hearts, in their brain, in their bodies when they hear Travel with
That vacation feeling, that feeling when you're pulling up at the hotel and the sun's shining over the pool and you just can't wait to get out of the car with your bags, that feeling. It's hard to describe, but it comes in many shapes. It's just the feeling of getting on a plane and it taking off and you're drinking your Coca-Cola and you have your bag of pretzels. You're off to somewhere wonderful. It's such a great feeling that I think everyone in life should at least get to experience once.
I agree. I totally agree. Travel is healing. It is healing.
Mhm, you said that right.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. So we will transition to a game, pack it or pass it. So I will just list a few quick like travel habits or scenarios, and you tell me whether it's a pack it or pass it and why. Okay. So this is a favorite one of a lot of people, and I'm not personally a fan of these, but like a last minute red eye flight. Thoughts on that?
I'll pass it. I'll pass it.
Yeah.
It's yeah, that doesn't sound great.
Uncomfortable.
No. No, so I'm gonna be in, like, the middle seat next to, like, someone that's just not mindful probably.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. We know a lot of folks are victims of this. And I can't say that I am one because I always check my bags. I always check my bags. I never have like a huge overpacked carry-on, but overpacked carry-ons. Thoughts on that?
Okay, you know what? We'll pack it. If we're going to Australia, we gotta pack it.
For sure. For sure. Group trips with no itinerary.
Well, I'm gonna have to pass. If there is an itinerary, absolutely, but absolutely not.
Yeah, yeah. And then this one, I feel like booking flights before hotels. Like, is there a particular order? Like, should people be mindful of like the order of that?
Pack it. It's mine, be mindful. Depends on where you're going, but for the most part, it's all right.
Yeah. Okay. So this one, I feel like post-COVID, this is the energy that a lot of people have like when traveling. Because, like you said, the cabin fever that we had, especially in 2021, but we'll figure it out when we land energy. Thoughts on that?
I love it. I love it. I have a friend, she's like that. She just like packs a bag and goes to a city and figures it out. That's not me. I plan, that's my living. But I think it's fantastic. If that's how, someone's soul goes, like follow, just see where life takes you. But make sure, it's on that note, actually, and technology, there are applications where, like backpacking applications, so family can kind of track and see where you're going. You know what? Just make sure someone knows where you are. That's all.
For sure. For sure. Okay, one free day with no plans. Like if you're on a trip, one free day, no plans, just like roaming.
Oh yeah, yeah. We'll pack that one. I think that's important. That's how you'll find different things that maybe you weren't necessarily looking for.
Agreed. Agreed. Okay, this is that spicy one. Hot topic. Checking a bag versus carry on only.
I'm gonna go with the carry-on only. We're gonna pack the carry-on. I love a carry-on. It's great. Honestly, off and on the plane, you're just ready to go. And when you get to the destination, you can always go shopping. So there's no problems.
For sure, for sure. You'll have to teach me how to pack. I'm a terrible packer and I always check a bag. I always check a bag. And I think I do that too because of the liquids, and yeah. But yeah, love that. Thanks so much for entertaining the audience with this fun game. And where can the audience find you on social media? Please, we'll link them below in the show notes, but please let us know where can we find you?
Yeah, so I'm on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Substack, all under Travel with Tab or at travelwithtab.com.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Tab. This was a great conversation. It was so awesome to catch up with you. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. And this was a great time. Thank you all for listening today. This was an awesome episode. And again, we're continuing to push the thesis that product leadership shows up everywhere. And I'm so glad that we were able to dive in to see how it shows up in travel. So, with that, we will end here and see you all in the next episode. Thank you for listening to the Product Leaders Edge podcast. If this episode gave you a new way to think about product leadership, share it with someone else who's building in the tech space today. You can follow my work on LinkedIn through my weekly series, Tech Tuesdays with KJ, and subscribe to the newsletter on Substack, which is Solostar by kjg.substack.com. And I'll link all of that into the show notes for you all. But let's continue to build at the intersection of product, cloud, and AI. Until next time, keep building.